Hi there, it's Riikka Kovasin here today with a new video for A.B.Studio. This time I'm making a couple of cards and I'm combining different collections while making them. I often mix collections while making projects. That's something how I roll. So I thought to give a couple of pointers that how you can easily mix up the collections. Of course, you can just work with one collection and everything will flow nicely because the papers will go together. But if you want to be a little bit more adventurous, then here's some tips. Why I chose these particular papers is based on color. So that's my first tip. Go with the color. So pick colors that go nicely to each other or then same color in different collections. The same applies then throughout the project. So when you're picking colors of the mediums, then just use what you already have. For example, a little bit later on, I'm adding ink colors to these cards and I'm picking them directly from that dotted pattern. But first I cut the paper to card size bits and I'm layering a pattern paper on top using double-sided tape. On top I then add gesso, and that's the tip number 2. If you're hesitant how the papers will go together, then adding a layer of white gesso usually soothes the harsh contrasts and thus makes everything flow in nicely. I'm adding the gesso just a little bit haphazardly because I'm going with these warm colors anyway, so they will go together. I'm just wanting a little bit less contrast where I'm going to put my focal point, kind of highlighting that. After adding the gesso, I then dried the layer and also cut my elements loose from the 12 by 12 sheets. Before I start layering those elements on top, I'm adding some mixed media touches to the backgrounds. First I'm adding some stamping using just black ink because tip number 3, neutrals like black, white or grey, beige maybe, usually go with any color. So those are kind of safe colors to add to any project. Of course there's a variety of blacks, whites, greys, so just keep that in mind. Next, I'm then adding a watercolor-like effect using ink, but tip number 4 is using the same medium in a variety of ways. For example, here I'm first kind of painting a layer using the same ink, but then I use the same color through a stencil, so it's just the same medium a couple of ways. So of course the same color will go nicely. It just has more impact in places than in the others. I picked up this hard pattern stencil, kind of mimicking the soft forms of the dotted background, and that's the next tip. Following or repeating the pattern. So if you have really geometric patterns going on in your papers, then follow that same idea throughout the different mediums or materials, because then they will go nicely together. Or if you want a higher contrast, then use something really geometrical with some really flowing shapes, for example. But usually following the same rule is kind of easy on the eye because there's no contrast then. After adding the stenciling, it's then time to start building the actual composition. And for those I'm using a couple of tags with these beautiful peach toned cut out florals from Big Eyes collection. I'm layering a couple of tags on top of each other and again mimicking or repeating the colors that are already in there. There's the nice peachy tones that are present in both cards, but for the bluish tone I also picked a bluish tag underneath the butterfly one to kind of repeat it along the different layers. So first I'm adding the tag using double-sided adhesive and foam tape, and then I'm starting to add here those little flowers. in place. Not all of the flowers are whole, and that doesn't matter because I'm tucking them between the layers, so it doesn't matter if a petal or two are missing because you can't see it anyway. I then repeat that to the other card. Afterwards, when I have the compositions done, I add a little sentiment or saying to both of them and then ink around the edges. Again, I'm using peach tone for the peachy card and bluish for the blue one. So following my own little tip or trick and using the same medium in a variety of ways. Just it's different intensity in different layers. I then mount the focal areas to white card bases and finish the cards with some rhinestone stickers. I'm highlighting the flowers with those. And here are the ready cards. I hope you enjoyed this little video and found my tips helpful. Please leave me a comment if you think there's more tips or tricks you want to share. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, please consider subscribing and hit that bell sign to be notified whenever a new video comes live. Thanks again for watching. Bye!